My name is Ed Shenk. I live in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. As far as fly fishing goes, I started fly fishing when I was about 5 years old, and I'm 86 now, so I've been doing it for quite a while. My father loved to fish, but he wasn't a fly fisherman, so I got him interested in it, surprisingly, but my favorite stream always has been the Letort. I literally fell in love with that stream, like I say, when I was a little boy, and literally grew up on it. Spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours fishing it. Took a while to get the knack of it, surprisingly, but after a while it seemed to work out. So even at let's say about the age of 7, and then I started tying flies. So I've done that literally all my life too. I haven't done a lot of traveling. I've fished our western streams. I've been out 23 trips over the years. I haven't been out for a few years now. Spent four different trips to Argentina. I had an Argentine friend that I tied flies for many years, and I finally put a trip together down there, and I went back 3 more times. I became a short rod lover as far as fly rods go. So there's a little animosity between the people that like. I fish long rods too, but I started many years ago fishing a little 5.5-foot fly rod, and really enjoyed it. And it seems to rub some of the long rod fishermen. I won't get into names, except maybe one, my friend Joe Humphreys, but they seem to get the impression from other people that it's more fun, more sporting, and that they're missing the point. And I enjoy it more, but I'm not saying that that it's more sporting than fishing with the long rod. It's whatever your heart desire. But I've always felt that there was a little more of a challenge to do with the shorter fly rods, what most of these guys will fish with 8.5 or 9-foot rods. Now I've done some Atlantic salmon fishing, and of course I use a longer rod there, although my first couple Atlantic salmon were caught on a 6-foot one-piece fiberglass rod. So but I've gotten away from that and gone to big rods when I had salmon fish now. My biggest salmon was 43 inches, caught on the Petite Cascapedia up in Quebec, and we figured it probably weighed about 32 pounds, something like that. So I enjoyed that. I've done some over the years. I came up. I did a lot of bait fishing, worms, minnows, things like that, and actually, along with the fly fishing with the actual artificial flies, but knowing where to place the bait and so forth. I learned a lot with the bait fishing that helped me in my fly fishing also. Now I haven't done any bait fishing for probably 35 or 40 years. It's all been artificial flies. That had to think a little bit. Like I say, I'm 86 years old, and I don't fish as often as I used to. because I wear out. My energy isn't quite like it used to be, and so I go out for shorter spurts instead of fishing from dawn to dusk, like I've done many times. I have designed a few flies which have become pretty well used over the entire world. The Letort cricket, Shenk Letort hopper. They're the two that, and the crest bug, the white minnow, Shenk white minnow, and the Shenk sculpin, among others. Now, I have about 7 or 8 other lesser flies that I've designed that I don't tie and don't use very much anymore. But one of the things that every once in a while I'll sit down and reminisce about my own, how effective are these flies. My Letort cricket has taken, well, there's one picture out in the display there of a 27-inch brown trout that I caught on the cricket in the Letort. One of my friends, a friend beside me, Ed Koch, caught a 27-inch one in the Letort on the cricket. The crest bug, my biggest trout on a sow bug or crest bug was 10.5 pounds, and that was caught just down over the hill from where we're sitting right now, down at the dam at Allenbury. And the biggest sculpin fish was a 10.25 pounds. I didn't catch it, unfortunately. It was one of my friends, and that was another Letort fish. It's surprising that the Letort itself is not a very big stream, and it's limestone. It comes out of the hills at numerous little springs and everything, and they all combine to create this relatively small stream. And years ago we had a lot more and better feed, mainly the so-called sow bugs, which are a little crustacean, crayfish, sculpins, regular minnows. All these were in the Letort, among other streams. And we've had a couple fish kills over the years, not lately, but it certainly had a negative effect on our fish food as much as anything. So that, but the fishing on the Letort now has really gone downhill. It's in the upper end, which is the headwaters where I've fished most of my life. My biggest minnow fish was a 30-inch fish, again a Letort fish. You wonder when you look at the stream, where in the world did these big fish come from? But the thing of it is, there are not many of them, and you have to remember that I've been fishing it for close to 80 years. So in that time, I probably only have half a dozen fish over 27 inches, and so they're not coming 3 and 4 and 5 a year. Well, they're probably caught. And this sounds like bragging, but it's not meant to be. But I'm the old man on the stream now. I used to be the kid on the block, and when Charlie Fox and Marinero and those fellows were fishing it, I was growing up on the stream. I actually, many years ago, probably in the 1950s, that I built my first 5.5-foot rod, and I had so much enjoyment out of it that since then, over the years, and these were that was fiberglass, that I've probably built 200 or 300 of the little rods. Now, I know one of the writers in one of his books mentioned that the only reason that I fished with short rods was so I could sell rods. Well, the selling was sort of an after effect of my enjoyment with the little rods. But I might mention that Lee Wolf was one of my idols, and he was a short rod person, and that's where I really got interested in it in the first place. I can remember it's said one of my favorite writers was a fellow by the name of Ted Trueblood, and up until the time that he did a piece on, among other things, short rods, and he said, people that fish with short rods think they're having fun. He said it's all in their head, and my thought is, well, what is fun but something mental to start with? And so at any rate, he became my less favorite as a writer. Again, I fished with bamboo. My favorite little bamboo is a 6-foot one-piece Thomas & Thomas, which is what I might call a play rod, my fun rod, when I just go out over a particular evening or something to just enjoy fishing the rod and possibly catching a fish or two with it. Most of my little rods that I've built and fished with have been little fiberglass rods. I've built a couple out of blanks of bamboo that were that small, but they weren't quite as responsive, let's say, as the little fiberglass rods. One of my bigger fish, one that's pictured in my cubby hole outside, is one I called Old George, and I fished for that fish over a period of 3 years on the Latort before I finally landed it. And I hooked it every time with the short rod, but and I finally landed it on one of the little fly rods, and that particular outfit is in the display that's in the museum. I've donated that entire outfit to them. Everything except the fly. It's still the fly, which was a big marabou streamer. But that fish was 8.5 pounds and a little over 27 inches. My first trip out west was taking the family out. I had a Volkswagen bus and pulled a little tent camper. I had my wife and 3 girls and 1 son, and we went out. I took a couple extra weeks without pay to make a month trip out of it, and actually I did a good portion of my fishing out west that first year with the little 5.5-foot rod, until one of the kids broke the tip of it in one of the doors of the van. So then I went to a big rod, which was a 6.5 footer, and I finished my trip with that. But I enjoyed. We fished the Yellowstone in the park, the Fire Hole, and then further up in Montana, the Big Hole, and then Jefferson and the Ruby, and just literally enjoyed almost every time I went out. I fished with smaller rods. Then I graduated to a 6-foot one-piece Orvis that I fished with for a number of years out west, and then went to a 6.5-foot graphite, which probably is a rod that I have used in western fishing more than any. My biggest western fish, again, was on a Latort hopper. It was a little over 28 inches, and that was taken in the Gibbon River and photographed and released. So, and since then I've gone out 22 more trips over the years. Not every year, but fishing essentially the same waters. And I guess the biggest fish that I landed beside a 28-inch was a 7.5 pound brown that I caught on one of my little sow bug imitations. And that was one of the few that I killed, and that one, the skin of that one is mounted up in the fly shop down in Boiling Springs. Like I say, most of the time when we went out, we would kill a couple 14 or 15-inch fish to eat. One of our favorite western meals was fried fish and fried potatoes, which you can't, you're usually pretty hungry when you fish pretty hard, and that was really a meal in itself. So over the years, I've enjoyed quite a number of different fishing trips, and I might mention that the last 10 or 12 years, instead of going west, I've gone north to fish for Atlantic salmon, and get skunked every once in a while. It's not like you go up there and catch a half a dozen fish or so, but I've caught a fair number. Phrase, I have my one friend who does. I'm computer illiterate, and I don't have a computer. All my computer work is done with the gentleman that owns this, my friend, another Ed out there, and he corrects some of my when I become redundant in my, I guess you would call it, in my writing. I've written one book and a half. I have one that I wrote called Ed Shenk's Fly Rod Trouting, which was published in 1988. It's out of print now. It's available on the internet, and it actually sold in the neighborhood of over 10,000 copies. So it didn't do too bad. My second book is just in paper stage. It's never been published, called 70 Years with a Fly Rod. Now, I don't know if I'll ever get it published or not. It's sort of written about 56 articles, published about 56 articles in various fly fishing magazines, Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, and you name it in the fly fishing world. The reason I got down in Argentina, I was tying skater spiders for Joe Brooks, and he took some to Argentina with him years ago, and gave them to a friend of his, Baby Ancherina, who became my friend, and over the years I probably tied him 100 dozen of these Hewitt skater spiders. And the first time I went down, he lives in Buenos Aires, but he has a cabin, actually a chalet, along the Chimawillian River, and went into his den, and there's a 37-inch brown trout mounted on the wall. And I said, "My God, baby, how big was that?" He said, "Not quite 16 pounds. I said, "What'd you get him on?" He said, "One of your skater spiders." So that tickled me, and like I say, that spider has become very famous down south. I still tie a few of them, but not too many of them anymore.